Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Thirsty Thursday edition of The Rundown. I am your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the left coast behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras, in the great state of California. But, as you know, I don't do this program by myself.
That's right. He has the assistance of an East Coaster. My name is Mike Wazowski. I am coming to you live from Florida. We are wonderful. We are grateful. We are happy. We are full of joy that you are here with us today on The Rundown.
Mike Wazowski. So you got a Wachowski and a Wazowski in 2 days in a row.
Yeah. Yesterday was a Wachowski. Today I got a Wazowski. They're like, oh, Mike Wazowski, like the guy from Monsters, Inc. Yeah, that's me. Exactly right. Pay here.
So is this like a Florida education thing, or does this happen everywhere you go?
This happens everywhere I go. Usually this is what I get. I usually get, I'm looking for Captain, or I'm looking for Mike. And I know they're talking about me because they just give up. They give up. I'm like, go ahead, try out. And if they looked at my name and they went Hernandez, be like, oh my God, that's it. That's perfect.
Then you'll be Mike Hernandez on the show.
I'll be Mike Hernandez for the rest of the day.
Well, so I see. There's a reason why we call you Mike P. Although after I've had you on the numerous programs that I've done, I've had you on numerous times, so I not only know how to pronounce Mike Piwowarski, I know how to spell it, which makes me somewhat odd.
You are better than most in the inner circle that are actually related to me. So that's good for you. That's good for you. Man.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you who is better than both of us. And that is our guest today. That's right. We have another special guest on for the program today. He is none other than, he is the founder. He is the president, CEO. He is the chief cook and bottle washer of Laid. Now, just so you know, when we talk about getting laid, it's legally armed in Detroit. And that will be our good friend, Rick Ector. Rick, welcome to the program.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. But you kind of stole the thunder when you actually explained the acronym.
Well, dude, I had to because it is literally just that much fun. I'm sorry. It's not as fun as getting laid, but it is kind of fun explaining it.
I think the best part, Craig, that we need to talk about before we even get into what Rick's all about is that this is our first three-way on the program.
No, we did have Earl on the program. This is our first internet three-way.
No, hold on. Earl was in the same room as me. That was a threesome. This is a three-way. Yeah.
Oh my.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, the very fact that you can make a distinction between that means I got to pray for you, bro. You need Jesus.
Listen, it's true. And just so you know, if we start singing, that's a trio. Just
okay.
You get this, Rick, right? This is how the program goes. Especially,
Rick, welcome to the threesome.
Especially when he's in the bourbon room.
I'm always in the bourbon room. These are just props. They're not real. I keep telling people that.
All right, right. So, Rick, do us a favor, man. Tell the folks real quick about your organization, Legally Armed in Detroit.
Laid is a gun rights advocacy site based here in Detroit, Michigan, southeastern Michigan. We do a lot of educational activities. And, of course, our signature program for the last decade has been our free firearms training event for women. That's where we train an increasing large number of women in a very short period of time how to load, safely operate, discharge a firearm. And we're getting geared up for our next iteration of that program next month.
Right. So to be clear, you're helping women get laid.
Absolutely. Legally armed in Detroit. And if we have our goals achieved, it'll be 4,000 in 2 days across two gun ranges simultaneously.
Okay, we'll see. Now I pumped it up a little bit because if you notice in the Chirons, I have 5,000. So,
I figured that was a Craig DeLuz thing, and I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to correct you. You know what? 5,000 let me get to 4,000.
Well, you know what? If we get over 4,000, we'll just round up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good question, Rick. Last year, listen, Craig and I had the honor of helping you last year to get to the to your number. And I think last year you were shooting for 1,500, if I recall correctly.
I was, man, and we had a crazy day that first day at that one range where we had 1,200 show up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna hit 1,500, no problem." I should have geared up for 2,000.
We did. We almost hit that. We blew past that 1,500. We got to, what was it, 1,938? Was that the number? Am I recalling correctly?
That was the number.
1938. So the next round number up, Craig, would have been 2,500, right? But Rick decided he wanted to go with 4,000. We're going to blow past 2,500. We're going to blow past 3,000. Rick, why 4,000? Why double up? Why pick that number?
You know, in the height of the pandemic, man, you know, my expectations were modest when we did it last year. And we did, 2,000 roughly, and we'll be doing it at the equivalent of 2 more ranges across one additional day. So why not just double up? Let's see if we can make it happen.
Greg will be back. We're bringing others with us. I've got other instructors I'm talking to, national recognized instructors. We're going to try and bring in there to help you. I know you've got your local.
Oh man, look! You said a word that I really detest, man. Please don't ever try to do anything, man. Don't ever try.
Do. Don't do. Yeah. Never try.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I got you. Woo. I thought I said a bad word in there, and that the FCC was coming after us.
You did, man.
I missed that.
So you have this horde of instructors that you've already had some discussions with. Anybody I know, man?
Yeah, like 3. It's not like a horde. It's like 3. It's not like it's 3. I've got some friends from a couple of and you've met them before from one of my sponsors from the other program, from Next Level Training, that we're trying to get in there with you also, just to come in and help and be instructors and listen. I want to talk about this event before we go much further. I want to tell you my take on this, and Rick's heard me say this. I've said this at many other events he's been at and events he hasn't been at. This event is pure, and that's the best way I can describe this. This is pure. This is firearms. This is firearm safety. Why do I say pure? Because there's no politics in this event whatsoever. There's no left. There's no right. There's no preaching to you. There's no begging to you. There's no asking for a donation. There's none of that. This is about introducing those that have never had the honor, never had the experience of being with a firearm before and being with an instructor and teaching the basic fundamentals and the basic firearm safety. That's it. Zero politics. It's pure. It's firearms. It's safety. That's what it is.
Well, and the other thing that I love about it is, and what makes it so pro Second Amendment, is you literally see a cross section of America. You see white, you see black, you see Asian, you see Latinas, you see women showing up who probably got cash, and see women show up, who can probably barely afford a gun. But the thing is you get people from all walks of life hanging out together, talking together. All are there for one reason. They want to learn how to shoot, how to load, how to be safe with, and how to shoot a firearm. And it is an awesome event. And I'm honored to be, just invited. And what's really cool is you got people coming from all over the country, instructors, on their own dime. You've got people donating the use of firearms and ranges and ammunition, all because they believe in the work that Rick Ector and the folks over at Lade are doing.
Hey man, speaking of ammunition, if we hit our targets, we're talking about 80,000 rounds of ammo, and it's with the ammunition shortage that we have this year, I was fortunate to be able to raise that. Right now, I think I have everything in play, except I don't have a warm and fuzzy feeling about instructors. I need more instructors, man. We're doing it at 2 locations, 2 days per. I need more instructors. So yeah, if we can definitely reach out and get more, if there are people who are local across our state of Michigan in the Great Lakes region, or as you mentioned before, You know, we got you coming all the way from California and from areas just as far coming. You know what? Would love to have them come out. They will be warmly greeted and brought into the fold to help us do a good thing for a lot of women.
All right. Before we move on to the next to the news stories, let folks know how they can reach you if they want to show up and help out if they want to donate.
If you're on the Facebook platform, Facebook.com/Michigan CCW, you can get a hold of me. Of course, my handle is Detroit CCW. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And hey, if you need to call, man, call me 313-733-7404.
Bam. Dropping it like it's hot. Dropping it like it's hot. So y'all know, Craig, what's up.
If I recall, Rick, the instructors you had last year ranged from NRA instructors, USCCA, IC, PDN, IDS, local state law enforcement. If you had an instructor certificate and you could prove it, they were welcome to come to the instructor briefing and help out, if I recall.
Yeah, man. You know what? I want instructors. You know what? I understand there's a lot of people out there who feel that they have commensurate level experiences. I would prefer that individuals have some type of certification from some recognized entity that recognizes them as an instructor.
Yeah, exactly. That makes it easier for you as the chief instructor. It makes it easier under the liability portion also as well. So if you're an instructor out there under some discipline, reach out to Rick, because I'll tell you what, he sure could use you. And this was a great, not only for the 2,000 we did last year and the potential 4,000 there's going to happen this year, for you as an instructor. Wow.
You will have a phenomenal time. Yeah, you will have a phenomenal time.
I would hate for something to happen and then someone goes, "What were you thinking? This guy, he didn't have any training, any experience. Right. Why did you let, hey, I'm just thinking this thing through logically. Okay.
I hear you, sir. I hear you, sir. Yep. All right. Yeah. So, hey, let's get into the rest of the news stories, all right? So let's start off with, our good friend, the Second Amendment civil rights advocate, Joe Biden, because he does believe in civil rights. Now, Joe Biden came out recently, and, he's talking about the number of various different states. In particular, they happen to be red states, conservative states, who have introduced legislation that both expand the ability and the time to vote, but at the same time, it also provides some accountability in order to make sure that the people who are voting are allowed to vote. Basically, Joe Biden is basically comparing this to, Jim Crow laws.
Have you no shame? 21st century Jim Crow assault is real. It's unrelenting. We're going to challenge it vigorously. We must ask those who represent us at the federal, state, and local levels, will you deny the will of the people? Will you ignore their voices? We have to ask, are you on the side of truth or lies, fact or fiction, justice or injustice, democracy or autocracy? That's what it's coming down to. We're asking my Republican friends in Congress and states and cities and counties to stand up for God's sake and help prevent this concerted effort to undermine our election and the sacred right to vote. Have you no shame? I swore an oath to you, to God, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And that's an oath that forms a sacred trust to defend America against all threats, both foreign and domestic. The assault on free and fair elections is just such a threat, literally. I've said it before. We're facing the most significant test of our democracy since the Civil War. That's not hyperbole. Since the Civil War. The Confederates back then never breached.
All right, so let's just break this down. So He basically has said that this is the greatest threat to our democracy since the Civil War. Now, Mike, I know that you were actually, let me clarify. Rick, I know you were around back then.
Whoa.
So you want to tell us? You want to tell us? Man, you want to tell us? How is this akin to the Civil War?
Wow.
You know what? Your research, your crack staff, man, they obviously botched their research. I was not around. As a matter of fact, I'm only just a couple of years older than you are. So I don't feel too old, man. But in terms of being a threat, I really don't I don't see this as a threat to our so-called democracy, constitutional republic, more like it. But, I'm all for ensuring that people who are eligible to vote. That is, one, make sure that they meet the statutory age, that they're 18 years of age and not 16 or 14 or some other ridiculous number I've heard. And I also would like for them to also pass the constitutional muster of being an actual citizen. I also, too, want to make sure that they are actually residents of the state in which they're actually voting in. I don't really think that those requirements, man, are onerous. Particularly when you're talking about making sure that we have some accountability, for the votes as they're being cast, and there's no opportunity for there to be any chain of custody issues and allowing people to stuff ballot boxes with all sorts of weird things, man. But
Rick, I'm sorry to interrupt you, man, but you're starting to sound like a white supremacist, man. I can't. We can't have that. We can't have that on our show. We can't have that on our show.
Well, we can, but that's my job. That's my job.
Exactly. Yeah. Mike is the designated white supremacist.
That's it. Well, don't make me pull my white privilege card. Hold on, I just put that thing down. Man,
right.
All right, so come on, Mikey. Give us your perspective.
Listen to horrible. How much do we have to hear this guy? Why doesn't he come out and just say we don't want the voter laws to be updated, because then we won't be able to steal the midterms the way we stole the last election. We won't be able to count ballots after midnight when we throw anybody out and pull suitcases out from underneath the table and run them through machine, and then lead you to believe that, oh no, we were just making copies. Although no copies were coming out of the machine, we were just putting paperwork in and it was coming out the other end. Oh, don't worry, we're just going to count these ballots here in Pennsylvania, and the numbers are going to be completely askew. But don't worry, it's all above board and legal. All right. So this is all about this has nothing to do with this with the pureness of an election. Right. With the I'm sorry, Craig. Go ahead.
Mike,
you want to say something?
Yes, I have one thing, and I have one correction. Yes. They were not counting extra ballots. Well, let me clarify. There were instances where I believe it did appear that they were counting ballots that actually were not mail-in ballots because they weren't folded. But there were also instances where it appeared they were counting the same ballots more than once. They were counting ballots and then changing the things. If you watched Tucker Carlson last night, you would have seen just some really crazy stuff, and it raised a lot of really serious questions about the integrity of the election. And it was. I'm like, I keep wondering, where were Trump's lawyers in presenting this stuff? Why didn't they present this stuff to the media a long time ago? But the thing that gets me the most about this whole thing is that they compare this to civil rights. I mean, not civil rights. They compare this to Civil War, where 500,000 Americans lost their lives in a war to free the slaves. And this is the comparison that they choose to use. And then he has the nerve to say, literally, this is not hyperbolic. This is not hyperbole. I'm like, it is the definition of hyperbole.
Listen, this idiot.
All right, look. Hey, but look, moving on to the next story. Look, So the Texas governor, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, when they were talking about the Texas Democrats decided they didn't want this voter education law, or this, not voter education, they didn't want this voting law to go into place. So they decided they were going to skedaddle out of town, go to Washington, D.C., charter a plane, they get a charter bus, buy themselves some Miller Lite, and hang out with Kamala in D.C. Well, the governor and now the legislature's backing him up by passing legislation and said, yeah, when they land back in Texas, yeah, they will be apprehended and brought to the Capitol and made to do their jobs.
Wait, whose turn is it? I'm not used to the three-way. Whose turn is it?
I'll just jump right on here, man. Look,
I mean, I know not to make eye contact, but
I don't think it's too much to ensure. I mean, some basic things that we all expect, right? We all expect that you're 18 years of age. You're not a minor. We all expect that you're an actual resident of that state. I think you should be a actual citizen of the country, and that there should be some type of chain of custody of ballots. I mean, I don't think that many people, if they are reasonable, they would have any issues with anything along those lines.
Well, but one of the things about this particular law was it literally just it made things easier. It made things easier than it was in 2019 to be able to vote. The only real thing you could look at and say that was a quote unquote restriction was it didn't have polls open 24/7.
Well, I mean, there's still, I'm sure, some accommodation for people who actually can't work on the day of the election. I mean, we still have the opportunity to do absentee, right?
Right. Oh yeah. No. And they added a number of early voting days.
Okay, so there should not be an issue.
It amazes me, Craig, Rick. It amazes me because all of these laws that have been passed over the past cycle here are all laws that help ensure the sanctimony of the election, the pureness of the election, the honesty of the election. All of these items make the election more accurate. We got rid of these polling places where you could just stuff your ballot in a cooler and they'll pick it up later the next day. This defined who could vote, when they could vote, where they could vote. Nobody was eliminated. Nobody got turned away. This was about securing the ballot and about securing the vote. This was about eliminating 3 suitcases worth of ballots being stored under a table until the election was declared closed for the night and then running them through the machines over and over again. This was about making sure that observers from both parties got to observe the election process rather than locking the doors and covering the windows and continuing to count through the night. That's what this was about. And the governor here, finally, I'll give a little pat on the back to Governor Abbott for finally saying that they were going to arrest those Democrats that left, whether it was malfeasance or misfeasance of office, for absconding from the vote in Texas and failing to do their due diligence to perform their jobs. I think it's a little bit too little, too late from the governor in Texas. Luckily, there's another gentleman that's running for office there in Texas. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, a war hero, former congressman. He's running there in Texas, recently announced. So I believe that he will save the republic and help to save the nation, because as Texas goes, the nation goes.
Absolutely no name dropping there in that little tirade.
Hey, I'm trying to be lieutenant governor. You guys can do what you want.
Of a state that you do not live in.
Hey, if the Democrats could vote 3 times when they're dead, I could be lieutenant governor of a state I don't live in.
Right. Well, he is from Florida, so maybe he just brought you with him. But
he's actually from Atlanta, sir. He's from the Atlanta area. Served in Florida.
He was a congressman in Florida.
He was from the Florida 22nd District. Yes, thank you, sir.
Well, the point that I ultimately though wanted to make was none of these laws, none of the things that are in the Texas law are as restrictive as the voting laws in the state of Delaware, where the president is from, which makes his statements even more hypocritical. Moving right along. So But this, by the way, speaking of being hypocritical, he's not the only one who had hyperbolic things to say about the Texas law and about the whole situation with the folks in Texas. You had Joy Reid. Joy Reid from MSNBC. I cannot bring myself to watch that channel. I only literally watch it in the snippets that come on. Well, she basically decided that she was going to compare the fact that Governor Abbott and the Republicans there in the state of Texas, the fact that they were going to make the Democrat legislators do their job, she compared that to trying to enforce fugitive slave laws. Check it out.
Start with you, Representative Turner. First, I have to talk to you about this threat to have you all arrested when you return to Texas and supposedly to track you down like the Fugitive Slave Act is still in force now. What do you make of that, those threats?
Well, good evening, Joy. Great to be with you. They're empty threats. As you stated, the governor, the state of Texas doesn't have jurisdiction outside the state of Texas. But moreover, Governor Abbott is just simply empty bluster. He does not have any authority to come after us.
All right, so first of all, dude was completely wrong, because if he had actually paid attention to his briefing, he would have known that the governor said, yeah, they'll be apprehended as soon as they land in Texas. He never said he was going to send people to Washington, D.C. to apprehend them.
Although I think the Texas Rangers could pull it off.
Texas Rangers, Walker Texas Ranger could definitely pull it off.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Craig, you talked about MSNBC. I'm not a big fan of MSNBC past 10 a.m. They become a horrible, right wing, left wing, distributor of fake news. I've said this to you before. I'm just going to go there now. I do like Morning Express with Robin Meade. She's on. I think it's like 6 to 10 a.m. Robin's a great person. Oops, sorry. Robin's a great person, and she's really one of those last bastions of facts and facts only. That's all she gives. There's no opinion, but it's incredible, because once the shift ends at 10 o'clock, it goes to and the right sucks. That's pretty much all of their story for the rest of the day until Robin comes back on at 6 in the morning.
I am positive that her facts are all you're interested in.
It's one thing to engage in, hyperbole and propaganda. I mean, comparing it to the, fugitive slave laws. I mean, that's a stretch, man. That's taking it, a little far. But hey, it's a free country, right? Freedom of speech. Use your platform to spew your rhetoric.
I just think that, man, every time you start to compare things that have nothing, that are not even remotely racist or have anything to do with slavery, to things like slavery, or to things like the Holocaust, or to things like Jim Crow, I think you diminish real instances of racism. And you make it, because if ensuring that our vote is protected and expanding voting hours is racist, then pretty much everything is racist. Which, by the way, is what critical race theory teaches.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I want to listen. I want to be clear. I know I give a plug to Robin Meade, and she doesn't pay me any money that you know of. Listen, Joy Reid said that making Democrats do their job, the job they were elected to, the job that they're expected to do,
that they swore to do.
Yes, that they're expected to do as elected official is the equivalent of slave laws. Are you folks? Are you hearing that? Are you hearing what we're saying? Making them be honest politicians, she's equating to slave laws from Civil War and prior.
Right.
This woman, go jail. Jail's about the easiest place I could think. I would say, excommunication. I would say deportation, but everybody would object to that. So she's an American. So let's just let her live in an American jail.
Right. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up that topic pretty well. So we're gonna move on to the next one because we're running low on time here. All right, so we all know that the Biden administration is all for disarming Americans. They say they're not, but when you start talking about the legislation, the anti-gun legislation, the anti-Second Amendment legislation that they're putting in place, clearly they are doing everything they can to try and disarm the average American citizen with things like, well, one, banning commonly owned firearms. Number two, requiring people to go through registration programs that are eventually going to end up as gun registries. Then you've also got the whole idea of going after firearms retailers, those who facilitate the Second Amendment, trying to shut them down. Well, in the end, what is going to wind up happening is they're going to wind up it's going to wind up with taking away our firearms. Well, so in the long run, at the same time, if you look at what's going on right now in Afghanistan, as we are basically getting ghost out of Afghanistan, we are leaving basically caches, treasuries of arms and weapons for the Taliban to basically, we are literally putting weapons of war on the streets of Afghanistan for the Taliban to take.
Yeah, I just find the act to be totally unconscionable, man. I mean, just as someone who it questions whether bad actors should be armed, and then we're actually arming them. I mean, that's like like here in Detroit, taking a bunch of guns and take a vehicle that's full of them and just leave it unlocked on a street corner and just walking away with no accountability. I mean, it just boggles the mind.
Well, and you know that these are weapons that in other venues are going to wind up being used against our own troops. If we are anywhere in the Middle East, those weapons are going to wind up being used against our own folks. I mean, Mike, you know more than the rest of us about this. So,
Craig is somebody that's been over a year in that. I'm going to use a Trump word in that shithole for over a year, and lost soldiers. Daniel Suplee, Joseph First, Pat Deans Jr. This is unconscionable. That we looked at a date on a calendar and said we must be out by such and such date, whether or not we leave weapons of war, weapons of mass destruction. We leave the ability to engage our adversary with a superior firepower. We must leave by this date, no matter what. This is the kind of thing where this administration should be charged with manslaughter, should be charged with depraved indifference for leaving our enemies with the ability and probably already taken place, the ability to wage war against us or our allies.
Well, it almost reminds me of another Fast and Furious where they didn't think through the consequences of the decisions they were making, and they armed people who were eventually going to harm our people. And it is unconscionable. How do you not take the time to make sure that you are able to either take all of those weapons with you, take all of those arms with you, or destroy them or whatever? But why are you leaving in such a haste to be able to leave that sort of cache of weapons for the enemy to use against our own folks?
Because we wanted to meet a date on a calendar. He put a date down on a calendar, and he decided that's what he wanted to do. Listen, in '73 when we pulled out of Vietnam, it took 2 years for the North to come down and take over that country. This will take less than 2 months. Craig, you and I discussed this previously. Already over half of Afghanistan is controlled by the Taliban. The major cities, Kandahar, Mazar-e-Sharif, Herat, Jalalabad, Kabul, will be gone within 2 months. Within 2 months. There is no national identity there. It's a tribal situation, and they will be gone.
And once again, it's crazy. But once again, this is the people who talk about putting weapons of war on the streets. Well, they're literally doing it now.
This administration should be charged with crimes for allowing the Taliban to take this. Again, we got to meet this date on the calendar. Okay, well then leave behind several thousand machine guns, armored personnel carriers, ammunition. Leave them behind because we got to meet the date.
Right. Exactly. It is sad and it is crazy. And eventually, hopefully the people of that country will they'll seek their freedom and their liberty again. And that, by the way, brings us to our closing or our parting shot. It's funny. We've seen over the last year, we've seen protests in Venezuela. We've seen protests in Cuba. We've seen protests in Hong Kong. And it's funny. There's one common symbol that just seems to be a rise every single time you have a people step up and say that they want freedom and they want liberty. And they want independence. And it's kind of funny because it's the same symbol every single time. And by the way, that just happens to be the American flag, because we are the symbol of freedom and liberty across the world. And yet for some reason, our people, in particular our Olympic athletes, our professional athletes, our entertainers, and our left-wing politicians, see the flag as a form of oppression.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, man. But I see the flag, and I'm fully cognizant of our nation's history. I mean, what part you want to focus on, the good, the bad, and whatever else, man. But it still represents our national identity. I am an American. I'm proud to be a U.S. citizen. I would not want to be a resident or a citizen of any other place. Is America perfect? No, it's not. But that's why we're here, man. I mean, you can either cast dispersions about our country, or you could do something to make it better. And I'm proud to say that I'm an American.
Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Mikey?
No, there with you both. Listen, word on this shoulder, into combat, into battle, and it's my flag, and it's the symbol of freedom around the world, and that's just exhibited here in this parting shot, Craig. So good selection, and it means what I think it means more to others than sometimes it means to us. It clearly means we are the light, we are the freedom.
Well, and for those who claim that the flag is a form of oppression or an example of oppression, let me just say this to you. The very fact that you can go before your country, in some cases represent your country on the world stage, and come out and say the things that you say, and so show the other disrespect for our country and for our leaders, is an example of why this flag is so great. Because you have the ability, you have the right to do that without being hauled off away in the middle of the night and winding and disappearing, or winding up in jail or before some tribunal. That's what makes this country great. That's what makes this flag great. It doesn't mean that we're a perfect nation. It doesn't mean it's a perfect flag. But what it does mean is that, once again, we're better than every place else. I feel very confident in that. And we're working to get better. And the very fact that we allow y'all to have those conversations shows, and we let y'all get away with some of the crap y'all say, shows that we're working to get better.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. Listen, this means a lot around the world. So everybody, pay attention. Cuba Libre. Hey,
Mikey, before we go, you need to make sure to let the folks know tomorrow is Feedback Friday. So folks need to know, how can they get down to get some free stuff?
Feedback Friday. That's on Friday when we take your feedback and we give things away. I think we might have quiz time this Friday, Craig. But we've got a lower parts kit from our good friends at Gorilla Machining. So check out GorillaMachining.com. GorillaMachining.com. They're going to give you a lower parts kit for America's rifle, and then they also got a nice T-shirt to go with that. Not sure the size. I know it is clean. They sealed it, so I couldn't wear it ahead of time. So we're going to be giving away a T-shirt and a lower parts kit from Gorilla Machining. Check out our good sponsors at GorillaMachining.com.
That's right. There's going to be a quiz, and we're going to bring up stuff from previous shows this week. So if you've been slacking and you haven't been watching, you better do your homework. Make sure that you tune in. Make sure you check it out so that you can be prepared for the showdown.
That's right. Listen, and I know the question I'm going to ask is going to be a lot of Rick Ector trivia. Rick, the event in Detroit, that's August 20th to the 22nd. Is that right?
No, 21st through the 22nd.
Yeah,
21st through.
We will be there. We will arrive the 20th.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the 20th is the instructor range briefing. That's right. So I'm sorry. So
we instruct the instructors on the day of the training, man. We just do it early in the morning. Like
and by the way, just so y'all know, we will be doing the rundown from Detroit.
de trois.
You did it from there last year, right?
We certainly did.
We didn't do the rundown. We're gonna be doing the rundown from there. I mean, we did our
Room
thing,
radio.
but it wasn't a
Arms
rundown.
Room Radio. Yeah.
Right. We did Arms Room Radio. We did Coffee with Craig, and we also did the Gunshine State. But now we're gonna be doing the rundown.
It's August 21st,
Okay,
22nd. August 21st, 22nd. And listen, if you're an instructor, seriously, you will not have a more rewarding time as an instructor in your life than you will have at this 2-day event in Detroit with Rick Ector. I'm telling you that now. Somebody that's been an instructor for over 30 years. This is pure. This is firearms. This is safety. This is instruction. This is pure. Get your butt up there and help Rick meet these goals.
That 30 years, that's almost as long as the pair of underwear he's been wearing. Just saying.
I started teaching at 2 years old, so it works out. Works out.
All right. So hey, folks, remember, tell your friends about the rundown. Like, share, subscribe. Tell them about the rundown. Tell them about Feedback Friday. Tell them to tune in. Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. And Rick, how do they follow you to like, share, subscribe?
Detroit CCW on Twitter. Look for me, Rick Ector, on Facebook. Detroit CCW, also YouTube. Over 2,500 videos. Come check me out.
Check them out. Check them out. It's that simple. Anyway, folks, we'll see you tomorrow. This is The Rundown, signing out.